So it's been a little bit, um, but I think I have actually decided what I am going to do with this. Let's see if I can lighten up my head there. That's a little better. I think I have decided what I'm going to do with this little YouTube channel going forward. Um, got back into reading uh, Proust. I've read the first half at some point and failed getting through the second half, and then managed to misplace that copy of the book. And having misplaced that copy, I gave up on it for a while. But then last year or the year before, can't remember, I think last year, I went and bought uh, a newer translation of the entire uh, seven books, package of separate books. So now I am reading it. I read the first one last year, earlier this year, I'm not sure, but I finished it quite a while back and started the second part and got bogged down a bit. But I picked it back up, and so, long story, slightly shorter. That's what I'm going to start doing, talking about books and literature, starting, I think, with Proust. For those of you who do not know, Marcel Proust was a French writer of the 20th century, and he essentially wrote one 7 book series, book, what you want to call it. It's sometimes called one book. It's sometimes called a series of 7 novels. It is 7 novels, but it's also one book. So it's complicated. I think that in French it comes out to something like 3,000 pages or something. Anyway, he started it in 1919 when he was, I think, 39 or something like that. Um, no, not 1919, 1909, I believe, 1909. And then he published the first volume in 1913 and continued to work on it until 1922 when he became ill and eventually died, leaving the last 3 books a little bit unfinished. So, the part that I haven't actually read is the part that is most fragmentary. His brother apparently did finish them or put them together from his notes, and I think that since that time, since the entire thing was published in 1927 in French, I think since that time, the English translators and other people have done some work in sort of textually reconstructing what Proust might have intended for those last 3 books. The last 3 books are notably shorter than the preceding 4, and that is obviously in part because they were not completely fleshed out and finished the way Proust may have intended them to be. So, what is it all about? Well, it's about memory. It's called Remembrance of Things Past or Search of Lost Time. Um, it's difficult to completely translate it from French, I suppose. But the idea that Proust is dealing with is the ways in which just walking around minding your own business in the day-to-day life, you might come across something that brings back a memory that you had forgotten, and how those forgotten memories actually condition the way you respond to things, and how they inform part of who you are. So you can see this as, at the time that he was writing this, you had, Sigmund Freud doing his work on the unconscious. And so you can see in this sort of something responding to some of those ideas, maybe even, related to other ideas of modernism, the new sciences of psychology and this kind of thing. And what Proust is interested in terms of the actual, what I might call the plot of this book, is essentially the same kind of society that you might see in other work, such as Jane Austen. It's not the nobility, but it is that upper crust of society that can sometimes hobnob with nobility, might have pretensions to nobility, but they're not really noble. Um, and that is the caste or the group in society that Proust himself belonged to, and of course Jane Austen herself belonged to. Um, and what you find in that group of people is they don't work, they don't have jobs. They basically spend their entire adult lives uh, going around, vacationing, hanging out with people, reading, uh, doing various artistic things, art, things of that nature. But they're not noble. Um, they may own a farm or property or an estate. They may be wealthy. They may not be wealthy. Wealth is not the same thing as social status. You know, so Proust, of course, as a man, is writing this entirely from a male point of view, and there are places where it's even like cloyingly masculine. The way that he talks about women, he makes it clear that he's talking about it from a man's point of view. And I suppose there are places where he could even perhaps be seen as doing something a little bit uh, feminist or opening up spaces of agency for the women. But in general, you're very much in the mind of a young man. And just as Freud focused a lot on that adolescent and prepubescent sexuality, that same thing becomes important for the way Proust wants to talk about things. So, as he, as a, I don't know, he was 39 when he started writing it. I suppose the narrator is probably meant to be about in his 30s as well. And so it begins with him having memories back to his childhood that he had suppressed or had long not really given much thought. And so he's looking back at it from this more adult perspective. And so there are some sexualized elements. There is a relationship with his mother that at the time when it was, lived within the fiction of the novel, would have been the normal, completely innocent relationship between a child and a mother. But through the devices of this older narrator, it doesn't get creepy or anything like that. It's not that kind of a book. But it may take on some shades and some overtones that maybe weren't, one might say, technically there in the mind of the child or in the mind of the mother or in the actual situation. But the older narrator being aware of sexual relations and how sexual desire can impact relationships to some extent is perhaps imposing some of that on this. It's hard to say for certain how much of that is really going on and how much of that is the way we should read the book or books. Okay, so this is really just me talking about it in general. I'm not attempting here to really say much about what my reaction to the particular first book, which is called Swann's Way. But I will do that next time around, I think. So this is the plan. So, basically focus on one a year. I want one a week, um, one book a week. So, if everything goes right, 52. Now, this depends a little bit on my reading abilities. Um, Time is a precious commodity these days, so we'll see if I'm able to actually uh, meet what seems to me a somewhat ambitious goal of reading a week. It shouldn't be ambitious. I mean, these books clock out at 3, 4, maybe at most 500, 550 pages. Um, you know, that I used to be able to read twice that a week without any problem. So I should be able to get to this, but we shall see. In any case, this is not that. This is just the idea that that's where I'm headed with this. All right. Have a good day. Have any thoughts or comments? Please let me know.